And as the Afghan crisis worsens, experts around the world have been warning against the unfolding crisis. So why wasn't the world better prepared? To better understand this, we sat down with Isabelle Carlsen, who is the head of the United Nations Humanitarian Office from Kabul. Take a look.
As humanitarians, it is very important for us that all parties are involved in protecting civilians, and that in what we've seen in the past months, and that we've seen a lot of civilians, and especially women and children, being trapped in conflict, and we've seen a lot of civilian casualties. So we really need this call for protection of civilians to be heard by everyone. Since the beginning of the year, Afghans and Afghan population have been faced with a number of very critical issues. Obviously the conflict, but not only, also the drought and COVID-19, and all this have had major consequences on their capacity to provide for their families and to ensure also their access to healthcare. So really, we as a humanitarian community need to continue providing support and to continue to work alongside the Afghan population, but we also need to scale up our response in order to be able to really provide the necessary humanitarian support that is required at this time. Since the beginning of the year, the humanitarian community has served 8 million people. But we had looked at a most vulnerable people of over 16 million. So we still need to really scale up our response at this stage. A lot of internally displaced in the different provinces. What we've seen is a pendulum of movements from population fleeing conflict, moving into the big cities, and then when the conflict moved, they were often going back to their areas of origin. The humanitarian actors are assessing the needs. What we need to do every time is to be as customized as possible on the needs to ensure that it is the people's priority that are looked at. So what we hear from them is mostly the need for shelter, the need for safe water, the need for food, but also obviously for healthcare. And we've seen a very important decrease of access to healthcare in the last couple of weeks. So the need to do that, and the humanitarian community, based on this assessment, is then providing the much needed aid to these displaced population.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.